All right, let's turn now to the big debate over public health versus the economy. Last month, half of Republican voters said they were more worried about public health than the economy. Now, with more than 33 million jobless claims just filed recently, the attitude, of course, has shifted. And joining us now to talk more about this is Spencer Critchley. He's the managing partner of Boots Road Group. He's also a Democratic strategist. And back with us is Inez Stepman, a senior policy analyst at the Independent Women's Forum. You know, Inez, this is interesting. You know, this particular subset, this was a Morning Consult poll that looked specifically at Republicans. A month ago, people said they were more concerned about health and the economy. And naturally, as you'd expect, things have changed. And you know, this is human nature, as I say so many times. Do you agree?
Look, I mean, this is about balancing risk. And I think it's really important to realize there's no pain-free route forward here. All the options entail an enormous amount of risk. And I think this simply reflects the fact that people are now weighing the economic risk more heavily than they were 2 months ago, because the economic damage and the damage to families to their budgets, and then also attendant health consequences like deaths of despair, like the fact that kids are not getting vaccinated for other diseases like measles right now because people don't want to utilize healthcare facilities. I mean, those are heavy costs, and we don't have to downplay the threat of the virus to look at the costs on both sides. And I think you see voters, Republicans moving most strongly in that direction, but also independents who still do, by a 20-point margin, say that they are more worried about the virus than about the economic damage. All groups, including Democrats, are moving more in the direction of caring about that economic damage as it becomes more and more severe and more apparent.
Yeah, and I think something else also, Spencer, weighing on this is the fact that more Democrats live in urban areas, more Republicans live in rural areas. Here's the poll Inez was talking about. Overall, Americans are more concerned about the public impact of the coronavirus pandemic, 56 to 34%. But again, when you break it down by political party, 56% of Republicans say they are more concerned about the economic impact of the pandemic, compared to 38% who say public health is a bigger problem. That's a 13% drop from last month. Spencer, what do you think is driving this partisan divide on this issue?
Well, I mentioned this last time, and it's in my book, Patriots of Two Nations, that we really have split into two nations in two different worldviews. And the simplest way of stating that is it's a division between science and faith that occurred at the founding. After the Age of Enlightenment, on which the United States Constitution was based. And I think that's in a horrible way. The coronavirus is sort of the perfect crisis to bring this to a head. A lot of the people who trust the president's words, I think, unfortunately, at their great cost, have essentially pledged their loyalty to him, and in many ways that's admirable that people within that worldview can
Spencer,
be so
let me
loyal.
stop you right there. I mean, I think that's somewhat of a cynical view, that those things are mutually exclusive. Having faith and also believing in science at the same time.
No, it's in fact both of these tendencies are present in every one of us, just to varying degrees. But the president is essentially someone who exploits people's loyalty. And as I say, that's an admirable quality. And frankly, it's one reason why a lot of people don't like liberals, is they feel like people who are so committed to change all the time, it's hard to trust them from one day to the next, because what do they really stand for? And I say that as a liberal. That's, I think, really what's behind all of this. In terms of the immediate issue, I agree with Inez that it's a question of balancing the economic risk versus the public health risk, and that would be the case no matter who was the president. I think this president has bungled the response. I also don't think that it's a hard binary choice, though. I think that we need to protect both public health and the economy.
And I think,
if we choose one over the other, we will sacrifice the other.
If you really drill down in the crosstabs of this poll, I think the data is there that most Americans see that this is somewhat of a negotiation between security and safety at the same time. They get it, even though Washington, D.C. doesn't seem to get it as much. Great to see you guys. Unfortunately, we're out of time, Spencer. We have to run there. Hate to do this, but we have to cut it off. Inez, Spencer, great to see you both.
Thank you.
All right, stay with us. We'll be right back after this.